So here's the news for the week, I guess. This is really the only stuff that matters. Disney is claiming that the Dial of Destiny is the last of the Indiana Jones franchise. Franchise, not just movies, which is probably the first time I've ever seen a company say that. I've seen directors and actors say that they won't make any more movies, but not the company itself. But does that actually mean that their franchise is really dead, or even that the movie series itself is dead? Well, if it isn't, it is at least the last time that Harrison Ford will play the character, in a live-action movie at least. Personally, I hope it is, as there's really no point to this movie in the first place. It's not like they really need it. I saw the newest trailer and it still hasn't pulled me in.
This way!
Fasten your seatbelt. There might be some turbulence.
You've taken your chances, made your mistakes, and now a final triumph.
It might have a funny scene and Mads Mikkelsen might actually play a pretty good bad guy, but it's still not enough. It's not going to be the worst movie ever, or even in this series. I think it'll be just a run-of-the-mill shit, like awful for Indiana Jones, that is, but average and bland as any other blockbuster that gets brought out now. The retro poster looks cool. In fact, it might even be the best poster I've seen in a while, but you can't judge a movie by its poster. Plus, if you haven't seen the trailers, then the poster is misleading. You'd be like, oh, maybe they'll go back to their old shit, but no, all you get is a poster. And to answer the question before, no, it's not the last installment to the franchise, as Machine Games is working on a video game adaptation which should be coming out soon. And if it goes well, they'll probably make another one, and with the new movie and the success of the recent LEGO games, I wouldn't be surprised if they redo all of the Indiana Jones movies in LEGO. It'd be kind of a throwback too, because that was one of the first LEGO adaptations, so I guess they mean that this will be the last of the movies in the franchise, which is what they should have said to be clearer, but whatever the fuck. So that would mean that they've given up on the idea of making movies with the granddaughter then, if that rumor is to be believed. So that's a positive. If it didn't work with Witwicky, then it's not going to work now, and they should have learned that back then. It'll probably make a couple of neckbeards happy too, that it's going to end before it's woke or whatever the fuck. But eventually it'll get sold, or Disney will go back on their word. It might even be after Harrison Ford dies, but it'll happen at some point. Let's just hope that they listen to Harrison Ford and don't ever let Chris Pratt play the character. This does add to the theory, though, that Disney is starting to sell its properties, as Disney Plus is costing them money, even though they're the second biggest streaming service. But it would make more sense to just sell movies to other streaming services than getting rid of any of these. This way they don't actually have to run Disney Plus, so many of their other properties that Disney owns will go back to Netflix, and they've created so many shows that vary in quality, but any streaming service would want them. Some believe that this will happen to Star Wars in general, where they'll sell off the whole thing, though I can't see this happening. That's insane. Disney have apparently cancelled multiple movies though, including a trilogy made by Rian Johnson, which was announced before The Last Jedi came out. They really thought the people would want that. Now, to be fair, they didn't know how much people would hate that movie, but they should have guessed. But to show that it's not going to happen, they've also announced 3 movies, which will probably all come out in succession, and will probably all make close to, if not $1 billion, including Rey's New Jedi Order. Yes, they're still making Star Wars movies with Rey in it. Not that she was the reason that those movies suck, but clearly they're going to continue the canon from those previous movies, and that was the reason that they sucked. And since they showed that anyone could be a Jedi, I would assume that that's what her order is going to be. If they made a darker movie where she becomes a Sith, maybe that'd be interesting, but I honestly don't give a fuck. James Mangold is making the first Jedi, which is probably the most interesting of these announcements, as it's the earliest adapted story in the franchise, which is what I want them to do with the series, either go all the way back or progress into the future, just stay as far away as possible from the original story as you can. Dave Filoni, who has been a part of basically all of the modern Star Wars stuff that was good, like the Clone Wars, Mandalorian, Rebels, and the Bad Batch, is writing and directing a movie based on the Mandoverse with the Imperial Remnant and the New Republic. The thing with the Mandalorian, though, is that he's the one that's interesting and some of the planets that he visits. But personally, I don't really care much about the war that's surrounding that, because we already know what's going to happen. So it's interesting to see that Disney announced they basically killed off an entire movie franchise, and let's just hope that it stays that way. Plus, they've got tons of other series that they can milk. Making this movie is just a way for them to show that they can fuck with any series that they want. But in an act of mercy, after this, they will leave the franchise dies alone. So thank you, Lord Mouse, for this act of kindness. Now, fuck off.